visited the province of Salta for the first time. And we rode the train to the clouds and did the proverbial tourist stop in San Antonio de los Cobres. And standing there praying, I felt that the Lord said, there's something for you to do in this town. As soon as I stepped off the train at this little station and looked out over this valley, and you kind of feel like you're at the ends of the earth when you're up there. It feels like a very remote place. It was a slow, steady development of a concern in my heart for an entire region of northwestern Argentina. I just had this sense that, there was something there, although I didn't really know what until the following day. And the way people got things these days, you can't hit anything anymore.
She's been asking me for a Waikiki.
Is any of that coffee left?
You can get another chair. Where's another chair for Granddad?
I'll bring it to you.
I
should get your recipe for that.
Yes.
And so we were going to take a team of people. There were 12 of us who were going to travel, specifically go to San Antonio de los Cobres, to see if we were the people to help there. In February, I'm diagnosed with cancer. The month before we're supposed to go.
It was good for me.
2 days before the mission trip, my father passes away. I had to make a decision if doing what I felt the Lord wanted me to do was more important than making a public appearance.
Torn in his heart, but at the same time so compelled that we go up to that city.
Happy birthday, G.
I'll incur the additional risk with the cancer. I'll sign a release if I have to that you advise me not to, because I think I'm supposed to go on this mission trip.
I mean, there were times in the middle of all that we barely would have enough to live off of because we had things we had to take care of. Our insurance, of course, went way high, and we couldn't be without health insurance. I just was going because it seemed to be the right thing.
I think that a life that is lived just for yourself is probably one of the saddest things that could happen to a man. I really believe that at the end of the day, what is it you want to leave behind? And I've decided that for me, I want to have helped somebody else. I want to have done something worthwhile with my life. Argentines are famous for their hospitality. And one of the ways they show their hospitality is an asado. You put a piece of meat on the grill, you spend at least 2 hours sitting around the fire, talking, It's about the socialization process. So we start talking.
Yo había hecho un viaje con el pastor Yoran a la Puna, y cuando íbamos charlando por el camino y llegamos a San Antonio de los Cobres, él me dice, no vayas a tomar agua del caño, ¿no? Dice, si tenés sed, no tomes agua del caño. Pedí agua mineral. Y le digo, pero aquí el agua debe ser buena por los cerros. Me dice, no, el agua está toda contaminada, tiene arsénico.
I knew nothing about arsenic in drinking water. I just knew it was hard to get out. That's all I knew at that time.
People there seemed to know that there were issues with the water, and some people said they had stomach pains and had this or that and the other, but nobody really knew how to put it into words.
Problema estomacal.
Sí.
Sí. 7 años que estamos por acá.
Mundial al Arsenic, de tanto tomar, porque vivían desde la panza, tomaban.
Gente de la UNSA, de la Universidad Nacional de Salta, hacer también las experiencias estas del tema del agua, y lo que leí es que no encontraron nada.
Obviamente que bueno, la gente se acostumbra. Tiene riesgos positivos.
Un veneno que se te va en toda la sangre, el cerebro.
Yo tengo un yerno y una nuera que los dos son chaqueños. Y entonces tengo nietos argentinos. Si esta era mi nieta, te aseguro que ella no iba a tomar agua con arsénico. El abuelo va a encontrar una solución. Y ¡pau! Así escuché al Señor preguntándome, ¿y qué clase de hombre permite que la nieta de su prójimo toma arsénico?
Juan Carlos Martinez's fingernails are falling out, and he says the muscles in his arms are rotting away. Maria de Los Angeles trembles so much at night she often cannot sleep. They were poisoned over several decades without knowing it. The tap water in their town, Pehuajó, is contaminated with arsenic, a naturally occurring chemical that sometimes seeps into groundwater.
A long-term exposure to arsenic has been linked to cancers of the lung, kidneys, bladder, your liver, and even the skin. Now let me show you the cancer.
The university here took samples in 33 areas of the province, and it found that in every single one of them there was arsenic in the drinking water above the legal limit.
We need hard data. Right now, Seferino is supposedly setting up an interview with the mayor. Also, a friend of ours who is a lawyer is trying to set up an appointment with the governor of the Salta province.
And I remember going online and trying to find people who might guide me to some information in Spanish. That's how I got in touch with Dr. Karen Hudson. And she wrote me back asking would we be interested in them coming and doing a study.
Bueno, este es 51. Estamos saliendo de la capital. Girls, did you see that thing with the red flags back there? Back there, it's for this guy named Gaucho Hill, but it's spelled with a G. I guess Gaucho Hill. He was kind of like the Robin Hood figure. He stole from the rich and supposedly gave.
Buen día, le hago una pregunta. ¿Alguna estación de servicio por acá cerca? Ah, bueno, muchas gracias, muy amable.
Y estuvieron antes de las máquinas de mover tierra, al mano dijeron. Al mano.
And so we basically had an official invitation from the provincial senate to do a study of the water in San Antonio de los Cobres.
So we're going to take the sample with the bucket, and then we're going to measure pH, the conductivity, and the amount of oxygen in the water. And then we have to filter the sample and take a number of subsamples.
Still a bit way off, not this line too. Okay.
So at this point, like at this spring, the arsenic is probably more mobile than immobile. So really,
Step farther, you go to the people and take samples of their
skin, nails and hair, and they had mental and physical retardation. There was stunted growth in the children, lowered IQs, and they're quite high blood lead as well, so above recommended.
And you can utilize that data and compare it to other data in other communities where studies have already been done, and say that water of this quality has caused these kinds of health problems in this community. So the likelihood would be that it's the same.
So the lifestyle is going to be a lot different from place to place.
Yeah.
So you could use it as a baseline, but you certainly want to do the proper thing here.
Poor Karen, you're having a hard time.
The body's failing me.
Yeah, that's going almost up to 5,000 meters.
Well, yeah, it's going to drop off pretty quickly.
Does that interest you at this point?
Not really.
Probably going to be less than that, because there's several contours from 5,000.
Is this one of the places for the hot water?
No, this is the water intake that serves the entire town of San Antonio.
Environmental geology to me is looking at how the surface of the earth interacts, I suppose, with humans, and how humans affect the surface of the earth, and how the surface of the earth impacts on human life and human condition.
Me having been diagnosed with cancer, my father passing away made me more sensitive. I'll admit that maybe my emotions were a little tender.
A very human side. I'm interested in helping these people because I think it's unfair. I think everyone should have a right to clean water.
But what we need is credible information, and find a way to put that in terminology that they can actually understand.
And at that point, I was still thinking it was the fault of mining, which I've come to learn since then. It's from the volcanic bedrock that's there. It's a natural occurrence.
We did the study in March of 2006, but it took for the analysis of the data and the writing of the paper until December of 2006. During that period of time, it was a hot topic in the U.S.
The Bush administration is failing to meet its mandate to protect public health.
They were redoing the acceptable levels of arsenic in drinking water here in the United States.
A regular portion of shrimp, typically served in a restaurant, contains around 30 parts per billion.
When you turn on the kitchen sink, you ought to be able to drink what comes out without worrying about being poisoned or poisoning your family.
Tell us what the standard will be, then of course these companies can try to meet it.
We ought to oppose this rule tomorrow.
This is an unacceptable pattern and must be reversed.
It became a political hot topic.
They're going backwards on the definition for wetlands. They're going backwards on the water quality.
The American people are paying the price with their health.
Bush said, well, the technology's not there to even measure it in most municipalities at that level.
And by the way, you're suggesting that the standard be 5 parts per billion EPA, and that makes absolutely no sense, no scientific evidence to support that that's the kind of standard we should have.
We've had 25 years of research on this, 25 years. We all know that Americans may disagree on a lot of things, but drinking arsenic, Mr. Chairman, isn't one of them.
Eventually, the World Health Organization says 10 parts per billion. And today, actually, there's a lot of research going on that says even the 10 parts per billion prejudices your health in the future.
escuchado varias veces de gente en posiciones de liderazgo aquí en la provincia que la gente local de San Antonio de los Cobres no sufre ningún efecto malo por el arsénico en el agua.
Han resistido 500 años de sometimiento, de esclavitud, de maltrato, de privaciones, todo eso. Y claro, si él no puede ir ni siquiera al médico, porque vive allí en los cerros y no tiene la posibilidad de acercarse, y muere en silencio, entonces, mirá qué resistente que es este hombre, resiste todo. Es una leyenda. Pero,
porque no tiene opción, pero, entonces tiene que resistir.
Claro, pero la verdad es una leyenda de la inhumanidad que a veces tenemos con nuestros prójimos y todo.
I was confined to bed in a wheelchair for well over 3 months. I had prostate cancer. After about 6 months, I realized that I was never going to get back up to full speed.
Hey, honey. Let me put this in here.
Ellos vienen en un vuelo desde Buenos Aires a las 8 más o menos en la noche.
We don't have Oprah doing a TV show for us that can just speak and millions of dollars come in, or telethons on TV with famous movie stars that can, we just are a very, very small organization.
Muy pesado, muy
Put your jacket on the bus.
We're taking a team of physicians and businessmen from the United States up there to do a medical clinic. You look a little tired.
Oh, yeah, we are. It's exhausting.
Now, in the next 30 minutes, you've got to make a decision whether sleep is more important or food.
I've been a doctor for 30 years now, and so my whole career has been devoted to giving care to people that can't afford it, that are marginalized, that don't get it. And I mean care holistically. Emotional care, spiritual care, physical care, caring for the whole person.
You're the person we were praying
for. I'm telling you, I love it. I mean, I love what I do. I mean, I really do.
Now, this is an undocumented statistic, but this is what we were told. 80% of the women die before the age of 50 because of arsenic in the water.
Different populations, interestingly enough, metabolize it a bit differently and also manifest different symptoms. So how did you guys go back to the original, get from Paraguay to Argentina? Do you have stickers in here? Right here. Well.
Now imagine this room 20 below Celsius. How can we keep this room warm enough?
And this is the
Maternity ward.
Yeah.
Labor room, yeah.
Yeah, the maternity ward, they got one table there for births. But he says sometimes there's two simultaneous deliveries going on, so they have to just bring somebody in here to one of these beds.
Okay, they do different in here.
I don't want to cause any problems.
Let's just do it the
way they do it. So if he gives them Tylenol, does he routinely give them enough for 5 days or 3 days?
Cuando usted le da Tylenol o esas cosas, le daría normalmente o ibuprofeno para 5 días, para una semana o para...
para 5 días.
For 5 days. So he routinely gives them 5 days worth of that stuff.
Si no, después no alcanza el medicamento.
Great.
All right, Candy, let's go for a walk.
You can tell I'm at a high altitude.
They didn't know they were doing clinics like this.
Really?
They were thinking they were coming, surveying the situation.
Huh? No, that's it. It just worked when I left. It's just so annoying. I wonder if it got like switched on the plane without me knowing it. And I don't think it's
So ya no varío.
No, we don't have those. Well, did she take a single one? I'm so confused.
Yeah. It's okay.
Somewhere there was a miscommunication. So.
Susana, nos quedan esta y otra más y ya no hay más después.
Gitian, Humberto, Humberta. Humberto.
Síganle a la doctora Karina Sosa.
Mary. Mariana. Pasa Calpancha y Camila.
You're so sweet. Yes, you are. See, that's that social smile. That's a good development. ¿Duerme bien?
¿Duerme bien su bebé en la noche?
No.
No. ¿Qué le pasa? ¿Cuáles son los síntomas?
El estómago.
Stomach pain.
Yeah, she's only 4 months, so
Yeah.
we can't just give her anything here. They have a lot of Down syndrome here? Later age.
Tienen muchos niños con síndrome de Down.
Sí, hay
In the literature, it says so. That's what I was wondering, whether he thinks that
Los síntomas que los niños están teniendo, si están relacionados con el arsénico o...
That's true or not.
Acá en San Antonio no he visto.
Usted no ha visto nada. We have a lot of kids that they're not really hungry and with stomach problems.
Come on, Daryl, let's go. They were classic arsenic poisoning. Classic from the articles that I've read. Now, I'm certainly not going to set myself up as an expert in arsenic.
If you're seeing signs this young, at 8 or 9, why is it not progressing on to adulthood?
Well, we
why
didn't
are you
see
not
adults. I didn't check neurological
said,
symptoms in adults. Oh, I didn't.
What kinds of things would we need to look for, and who do we have that could actually look for them?
That's what we're doing on this trip, is doing a needs assessment. That's what I had emailed you about too, and looking at the big picture.
I need to have credible, scientific, real data.
I'm not a neurologist.
Before I can honestly go out there as a mission and say, help us do this project. It's not a very simple scenario here. To figure out how to help, how to get past all the barriers. This water project has turned out to be much bigger than I thought it would be. But it may be the salvation of a town. Everywhere I looked, I found out that filtering arsenic out of drinking water is very expensive and very difficult and high cost of maintenance even after you install the system.
I think our initial estimates were somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million. So that was, for a small mission like ours, that was just sort of like out of the ballpark. It was ludicrous for us on that level. His Art Missions. Hey, James. I think there's only space for one more here in the hill plot. I think there's room for one more. 2 days before the mission trip, my father passes away. Now, I loved my daddy. I had a wonderful relationship with my daddy. He was a good daddy to me my whole life. My daddy, James Billy Hill Sr., died in February 2004. I left the next day on a short-term mission trip. I couldn't be at my own daddy's funeral.
I said, well, it's always the first time for everything.
The nurses told me he was stable. Why didn't I go home and get some rest? You know, so I kissed him and said goodbye. I didn't know it'd be the last time I got to kiss him. I had to call my mother and tell my mom that I can't be at my daddy's funeral. I have to go to Argentina. It bothers me still. I think I did the right thing. I hope I did the right thing. Sometime in 2007, after the reports, we were able to give all of that data to the for-profit company at that time, which was called Aguas de Salta. And they rejected it. They didn't want anything to do with the project. They were providing a very precarious level of water to the whole province.
Hay muchos que no quieren dar la cara y puedo ver que no importa lo que allí se esté sufriendo. Hay pocos que se han puesto en la vereda del amor y quiero saber para qué lado miras tú. ¿Qué importa el sacrificio que nos lleve? Sabemos que no hay tiempo.
It has been a long and winding road to get to this point.
We're on 55 now, and I think we're going to be probably shooting more than we've shot before on this next trip. You know, I think this is going to be the real bulk of the footage, you know.
If I'd realized how long this was going to take, I would have probably told the Lord no.
Yeah.
On the road. Through searching the internet, we got in contact with a group called Adage Technologies, which was a new cutting-edge business based out of Atlanta, Georgia, that had developed a new kind of filtration that was cheaper to install than the old reverse osmosis system.
You guys had, I guess, like 180 samples that you guys took and sent to England for analysis. And a number of those were listed as spring waters, and some listed as river waters, and then some listed as tap waters.
There's actually a little map that she's got.
What's the overall elevation of San Antonio?
San Antonio, 13,000 meters, or feet, 13,000 feet.
Makes you breathe sort of fun.
You're sucking air when you're up there.
So we just began to nose around. We knew nothing about arsenic, still don't know much. In drinking water, of course, we found out that it's a pretty hot topic issue worldwide. You know,
because when we talked about a town of 5,000, sometimes we would be talking about a couple of hundred GPM well, and sometimes we'd be talking about a 10 GPM water source, and the sizing is going to be all very, very different. So it's important for us to try to put some scope or try to get a measure of what size equipment we're talking
comes
about.
in that the breadth there is like this.
That's pretty good flow.
And right up in here is where it comes out of the. Well, once it gets to the town, I presume it just is distributed from, from a distribution box somewhere.
I know you've thought this out and you're going to run into, but you're going to run into problems if one town gets a treatment system. Is the federal government going to come on you guys and say, we don't want that going in because now we've got this problem with all these other villages? Along that same vein, that has been a common problem in India and Bangladesh.
I told Lee earlier, I have Argentine grandchildren. I promise you, my Argentine grandchildren are not going to be drinking water with arsenic in it. I promise you that's not going to happen. Granddaddy's going to find a way to solve that problem for them. And if I can, for approximately $10 a person, and solve that problem so that someone else's grandbaby is not drinking arsenic water, then I'm going to bust it wide open and give it my best shot.
And you remind us why we started the business was for these reasons.
You think about it, you read the gospel, you see when Jesus met people and he met them and took care of physical needs before he took care of a spiritual need.
These are real people to us. It's not just some theory of missions, These are people I know.
Right.
This is Doña Justina, the lady who took us and showed us the location. Her husband was employed by the water department until he passed away a few years ago.
This is not a difficult thing to solve. And you've got gravity working for you, you've got distribution system in place. It's just a matter of putting a treatment unit in the place of the line before it goes to the distribution, and removing the arsenic.
But what kind of numbers are we talking about? I mean, we're talking, just, I don't even have any kind of concept. What is a reasonable number that I can begin to pursue funding for this thing?
For somebody here in the States, it would probably be a $30,000 type number.
Okay. I can't believe that it's that low. 100 gallon per minute lead lag manual system?
Again, this is kind of a stripped down.
Yeah, you're saying that $30,000 seems low. Is $50,000 a reasonable figure for us to say that we can maybe or probably? I don't know, what it is that's involved to do a system like this in Argentina. So that's why we're here.
So every now and then, usually once a month, we'll need to turn the water around, flow a little bit of water backwards through it.
Fluff up
We
your
fluffed
media.
it up or fluffed the media bed. Part of the reason you saw us staring at each other at the table when we started talking about pricing. It's, you know, here's what we do when we're selling to a municipality here.
Right.
Here's what we do if we're talking about something that's completely over and beyond that kind of scope, which is what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
we're going to do our darndest to make sure that
Yeah.
we're not making the money here, that we're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
The media was specifically designed for arsenic in drinking water. So you've got
That's
your
it.
arsenic bound to the iron.
Right.
And it stays bound to the iron forever and a day. That's one of the major benefits here, as opposed to
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if we were providing clean water but producing several
solid waste, hazardous
large
waste.
barrels of arsenic, you know, where do we put that?
Well, here's what I did, and essentially I took some of the information and I made several assumptions. Okay.
Yes.
We're assuming we're taking the arsenic down to 10 parts per billion. So when you look at that, the capital of the system is $35,000. And the important thing here is the annual operating cost of media replacement is close to $20,000 a year to run that system.
Okay.
And then you've got an estimated cost of a household per month of 33 cents.
1 peso. But we feel like that if we can show how this is a workable process, that this problem can be solved, then this will give hope and inspiration to other towns that they can solve their problem.
Right.
So having the help of you all in actually designing a system for us is a huge benefit.
Tremendous.
Just a huge benefit.
First person that I asked about it, how much would it cost to pipe in clean water? They told me $3 million. It almost made me swallow my tongue. But somehow in my heart, I still believe that something could be done. $50,000 or $60,000 is a lot more doable than $3 million.
The Argentine health professionals know this is a problem. The Argentine government knows it's a problem. And that's why in June of 2009, the province of Salta intervenes. And now the water company for the entire province is owned by the government. So they really do care about this problem, and they're working on it.
This really is nice. You did a great job with this, James. This is beautiful. It's sort of like a flip chart.
But y'all think definitely to go with this kind of paper. Right?
Yeah.
I think definitely it needs to be on
Especially it's not that expensive.
Yeah, it's not.
And then this with the
Return on investment
DVD.
here.
When we got to make the DVD.
I kind of like this flipping like this, actually.
We were going to make it, Jim, so that the trifold has a slit for the DVD.
Yeah, you put the DVD in the trifold.
Because you guys come up with all these ideas that are going to cost a wad of money. Oh, let's buy a new printer. Where are we going to come up with all this money for these cute little ideas?
We'll work it out. Hi, I am James Hill. I am the director and the producer of Troubled Waters. We've got about 2 months worth of production coming up where we're going to be traveling to Argentina, and we have a lot of costs associated with it. However, it's probably the most important part of the documentary that's getting ready to be filmed. I mean, it's crucial. Hi, I'm James Hill. I'm the director and the producer of Troubled Waters. Before you watch this short trailer, oh my gosh, shut up. So, hi. Again, it is hard to direct yourself. I am sick and tired of doing everything by myself. I've been working on for about 4 or 5 years. Crippy poopy a little bit, so I can do the poopy poopy. All right? Thank you for your interest. And I am so tired of doing this crap. I need some help. Will you please help me? Thank you.
Hello?
Hey,
Hey, man. What's going on?
how'd the presentation go?
Well, I was a little nervous, I think. I don't know. I don't feel like I did very well at the question period. I thought the DVD was superlative. It told the story, the images of the children, and and everything in the street was so much more impacting. Whether we get anything out of this venue or not, the DVD told the story in a way I could not have told the story with just words. I'm getting another call here, James. Can I call you back? This may be something from the Rotary Club.
Yeah, sure.
It's a no-name thing.
Okay.
I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right, bye.
Right now they're doing a project in Argentina, which is very close to my heart. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Dean.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about this project you're working on?
Well, several years ago, I was high up in the Andes Mountains of northwestern Argentina, visiting a town of about 5,000 people called San Antonio de los Cobres. And while we were there talking to locals and people familiar with the region, we were told that there's a high level of arsenic.
Hello?
Well, we may get some ROI on your DVD, man.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Listen to this. This is way cool. The Rotary Club tonight pledged a minimum of $5,000 toward the project.
Wow.
Okay? That's what Dean said, starting small, now we're going to work up to the other.
So between October 2009 and the end of the year, between December 31st, we raised all the remaining finances.
We were able to get the money and able to make the move, and it was all a go.
And about 5 days after I issued the tax receipts, the water company got in contact with me from Argentina and said, the system as designed won't be adequate to supply the 6,000 people who live in San Antonio de los Cobres. We're going to have to increase the capacity by 333%.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna look like some flake organization, and then, to the people in Argentina, we've raised hopes, and then, all the way around, it was just not a good situation.
When we got the increase, I said, okay, we're going to try and cover the machine increase, but the city's got to build the building. We can no longer offer the building. The city of San Antonio de los Cobres said, yes, we'll offer the building. Someone else said, yes, we'll pay for the transportation. So it was a negotiation.
These are the current site parameters that we have.
It's a little larger then, because it's 60-inch system.
6-inch diameter.
Carbon steel.
Right.
So it's a little bigger. The vessels are a little larger.
That's
right. How much training do you think we're going to be able to afford local people to finesse that? And
we were thinking we could cover this in about 5 to 10 minutes, and then they would be all set to go.
You really are very optimistic. Okay.
The idea is to keep this simple, but there's just chemical addition. There are valves to turn. There are ways that you can mess it up. There's clearly ways you can mess it up. You don't have to try real hard to mess it up if you want to.
When you say it can be messed up, that it would be a danger to the people, danger to the workers, or danger to the community?
Yeah. It's going to take us 6 weeks to build this, minimum.
October 24th, they would have the building ready to receive the system.
Okay, that's good. So that will give us, for shipment system to the site, I had 1 to 3 weeks. Is that what you think that it's going to take?
I think it's going to take 4 realistically.
Hoy
tal vez debamos decir que una presidenta argentina, allí de pie en la Casa de Gobierno, despide a su esposo, ni más ni menos que un expresidente, el hombre más poderoso definitivamente de la última década.
Y cuando se trata de líderes políticos, la
Right now, we're waiting to be contacted by the government in San Antonio de los Cobres. We just got a text message. They're getting ready to go to the Chancellery to present the documentation about 10:30. I don't care who gets the credit for having done it. That's not important. Ella dijo mínimo de 20 días para sacarlo de aduana.
Pensaría que puede ser más o menos más.
¿Me puedes creer cómo este va a complicar nuestras vidas?
Hay que pagar 80, más 15, más 70, más 100, más 120, más 20, más 35 dólares. Poniendo estaba la gansa, dice una expresión.
Normally they foresee at least 20 days to be able to get something out of customs. But after 10 days, they start charging you a fine. But they never release anything in 10 days. So the more paperwork you require, the more red tape you require, the slower you can do good.
Aquella noche de tu partida lloré de amor. Desde el umbral de mi alma herida te dije adiós. Y ya sabiendo que te perdía lloré por vos.
Bueno, gracias Ulises. Bueno, ok. Nos vemos pronto. Chaucito. If we knew that the containers were on the way, and we saw that the pipes were in place, and we saw that the pumps were in place, and we saw that the floor was poured, then that means all the rest is just details. And that would give a high enough level of confidence to Adage to go ahead and book their tickets on Friday.
He was really thrown in the midst of having to work with the engineers and the water company and mayors and all this kind of stuff that just could not be done from here.
You know, if we got the booster pumps, if they're on site, if the ground piping systems are ready for hookup, they have electrical power, is the concrete pad in place, and we have to have all of that decided by this Friday. With all that I'd been through before, and having over 20 years experience in Latin America, I realized that very few things actually get done and finished unless there's somebody that's there to push on it.
Y venimos para ver el progreso en el temblado.
Ajá, disculpe, no, vean con confianza entonces.
No, está entendible.
At this point, I don't think we can, push on the schedule. It is what it is. But even if the containers were out of aduana, we would not be ready to install them at this point. So, flash floods washed away part of their water pipe, the supply system into the town. They had to repair that.
you know, they're not ready, it's not done, and you know, they say it's gonna this, you know, just frustration. Just, yeah, he was very disappointed.
It's not happening in the month of December. It's been very difficult to predict a timeline. Everything is connected to politics, you know, one way or another, and this project is very political in nature because every person that has to add a signature or a seal or an approval to every step that you do complicates and prolongs the process. That's just the nature of the beast. We pushed, we tried, we did everything we knew how to do, so now we just have to drop back and adapt.
Yeah, I hear you're telling everybody in the States I'm getting fat.
I'm not telling people you're getting fat. I don't know where Luis got that from.
It's tough. It's tough. I'm swimming against the tide here, man.
That's the. Yeah.
I got a call recently from the regional manager of Hellman's Logistics. They were very, very concerned about the length of time that these containers have been sitting on the docks. But I have no way of confirming if the shipment from Adage is in a container in customs or if it's been offloaded into a customs warehouse. They're going to charge $100 a day. Now, that's, at this point, we're well over 60 days out from the deadline.
Yeah.
So we've amassed at least $6,000 in fines at this point. And they can actually put a stop on you being able to get your stuff out of customs after customs have cleared it, and can have the authority to auction off your property if you don't pay the fines. It's scary.
We're this close, it's on the ground. What's going to happen if this thing just sits in the port? You know, what, this thing goes to waste?
I received your confirmation of transporte para San Antonio de los Cobres email. I will meet you at the airport on the 2nd of November. I hope you guys have a good and profitable trip, and we'll see you in Salta La Linda. Ciao. Well, Lord, let's pray. Lord, we just really were doing this for your glory. It has been a long road. It's been a real long road for me, Lord, 8 years. And I'm ready for a new beginning.
We'll be boarding the aircraft half an hour before, which will be in approximately...
The containers were held up for over 3 months in customs. Just couldn't get it out of customs. So it's been one delay after the other, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like this is a go. We have a pretty high degree of confidence that we'll actually start up the system this next weekend. Home in Salta. Oh man, that's a change. When I left, about, what was it, 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
There wasn't any leaves on that tree.
Change of seasons.
They arrive on the same flight that we just came in on. It gets there about the same flight, the line flight, same time next week. I don't don't know that these guys have ever been at 14,000.
Yeah.
Old chubby guy like me, or Don Geen, 75 years old. Neither one of us have any trouble with the altitude.
Huh.
But they're real anxious. They say it's going to take them 2 full days of work to get the system up and running. That's Thursday and Friday. And then they want to dedicate Saturday to training the others to operate the system.
What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Have all day Friday.
So Friday we should be starting to run water.
Si Dios quiere y todo sale bien, vamos a arrancar la planta el 6 de noviembre. Y llegó los contenedores en Buenos Aires el año pasado, el 6 de noviembre.
El 6 de noviembre.
Un año, exacto.
Yeah, we don't want to forget that stuff tomorrow.
Bien apretado.
Vamos a estar bien.
Okay. Bien apretado. All right, boys, we're going to load up in the back of this one. 3 of us will be in the back seat.
Sueño de mi vida, no te pongas triste, yo siempre te quise con el corazón. Si alguna noche
There are places where literally roads don't go, and there's towns of 800,000 people, and there's no road that goes there.
siento que mi vida ya
Viste, no me creía que iba a llegar.
Bueno, no era eso tanto, pero yo quería ver con mis ojos.
No me creía.
As you can see, there's no real scientific measurement. All right, and this is Eric. He's our ready to work.
Hola. Él quiere trabajar.
Más fuerte.
Más fuerte.
The water then flows by gravity. It all comes together and flows from this end right here. I don't think they're getting all that much efficiency at all.
Aquí se congela el plástico. Tenemos problema con el congelamiento de la cañería plástica.
Control pressure or control flow?
We want both.
We need to convert this pump to 110. Rewire it to this because they cut the 110.
Oh man, I've been dreaming about this day since 2003. So it's real good for me.
Tell him I can do it.
Él lo puede hacer. Él puede hacerlo.
Trust me.
Y este es casi 6 años desde hicimos el análisis.
So this is a well version.
Let me isolate this, Eric. No. It'll probably need
The only people who can do physical work at that altitude are the locals. Even the Aguas del Norte engineers who live in the provincial capital at 5,000 feet elevation can't come up there and do physical work. You just can't. You'll pass out. You'll have to go to the hospital and get oxygen. If you go past what you can do, once you get exhausted, it is very difficult to recuperate.
I was like,
So we have to make
we
sure
can't lose him, you know.
Exactly, we have to make
Eric
sure to
at a
slow
reduced
him down.
level is better than no Eric at all.
Exactly.
Actually, it takes about 2 months minimum to get it adjusted. You get a little better, but it takes 2 months to, without going down.
I don't think I could
begin to adapt.
I don't think I could move into rigorous work mode here without just really.
It takes months of adaptation.
So if we can rig with a harness and a pulley
to get somebody down there, open up the handhole so we have ventilation.
We've got a major problem.
Oh, really?
There was some internal damage done in the tanks during shipment. 3 of them got broke, and we only have 2 spares that were sent with the system. And we've only opened 2 tanks. We still have 2 tanks to open. So we don't know exactly.
In the 8026 of 8x16.
Okay.
Entonces vamos a montar acá de 8 casi 10 horas o 11 horas. Nosotros le ponemos la cupla y le agregamos otro. Ya está.
No problem. They understand how to do it. So I think we can do it very safely and accomplish it very quickly. Because the media, is costly to replace it.
Right.
So we don't want to. Right now, it's only showing it's going to last about 8 months.
So you want to start putting water in there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Actually, what you're doing is you're adding agents here that combine iron and chlorine with the arsenic molecules, and it makes it big enough that part of that can actually be filtered out with different kinds of sand and gravel mix. It sort of expands it, but you can't get all of it that way.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Biggest exciting thing that's happened. We had a major blowout on the pipe. The piece of piping is the coupling.
The weight of the water and the header and the pipe itself and the force just twisted it, broke it off right flush with the flanges. So
all the pipes twisted and broke off and fell down on top of all the engineers that were standing here.
There's Oscar right there.
Little bump in the road.
It's just that we're gonna stay a little bit until we're gonna work here until whatever time it takes.
There's a whole community, about 800 people over there. They only come to the big town of San Antonio de los Cobres once a year. They drink out of the river. They're drinking out of the river. They always will.
So they're like isolated, remote homes?
Yeah, semi-nomadic shepherds living off the land.
¿Ustedes tienen otros sistemas de tratamiento de agua para remover arsénico en otras partes aparte de esta?
Sí, está instalado en la localidad de Toyoche, que es en la zona este de Salta. Hay osmos inversa.
Okay. Por cada metro que tratás de osmosis inversa, ¿cuál es el agua de rechazo? ¿Qué porcentaje es?
Es alto el rechazo del agua, es casi como el 30%.
Ah, es mucho.
Es mucho el agua del rechazo.
Es como escupir contra el viento.
It seems to me in the States, the private companies do almost better job than the public companies because
Yes.
they're for profit.
I used to think that, but here we have bad privatization and good privatization. We can make life of people different.
Right.
We can make a change.
Right. I like that.
So we have, and you see all committed people.
Yeah, if we can just get the fittings back on those pipes.
You know what? Just by listening to these guys, they are very ingenious. They are very confident of what they do. But you do not worry.
That's not a beast. That looks sweet.
Oh, it looks good. Aesthetically, it's not that cute, but functionally, it's gonna fly.
Siempre que esta es una de las obras más importantes que se hicieron acá en San Antonio de los Cobres, porque después de 200 años traer un equipo de alta tecnología para bajar el nivel de arsénico acá es realmente importante.
No saben cuántas veces en medio de la noche yo me desperté pensando en los niños de San Antonio de los Cobres.
Ustedes tienen la energía que nos libera, es digno de destacar para nosotros.
Seguimos como hermanos salteños.
¡Oh!
Ahora sí.
Hay una poesía muy especial de una persona que ya murió, que nació en el cerro y que dice, porque corren por mis venas la sangre del aborigen, porque esa raza es mi origen, siento el orgullo en mi pecho, y este canto es un derecho que mi pueblo y pago tiene. Al pie de los grandes cerros de la inmensa cordillera, mi pueblo en silencio espera el avance del progreso.
Ahí todo hay que hacer la hilación térmica.
Tiene el agua.
No way. 7 coming out the first 2 units.
At our last stage of treatment, going to distribution.
Looks pretty white.
Does that look white to you?
It looks white to me.
For the first time in history, we just opened the valve and sent arsenic-free water down the chain to San Antonio de los Cobres. She's online.
Think it was worth it?
Absolutely, it was worth it. It was worth it on a human level. It was worth it on an economic level. It's just the right thing to do. all of a sudden you realize you're in something you can't turn loose of, you can't just walk away from, you have to finish it.
I feel like personal responsibility. I call it conscious responsibility.
There are needs that are worse than here in San Antonio de los Cobres, but not all of the needs in the world are ours to attend to. And the only way I have to know which ones are mine are the ones that I just can't get away from, that I wake up thinking about in the night. And you have no idea how many nights I've woken up and couldn't get back to sleep thinking about the kids up here drinking that raw water.
Amigo, necesito que me escuches, que me prestes un momento tu atención, esto es en serio. Hay gente en mi país que va muriendo por el agua envenenada que se toma ya en su pueblo. Hay muchos que no quieren dar la cara y puedo ver que no importa lo que allí se esté sufriendo. Hay pocos que se han puesto en la vereda del amor y quiero saber para qué lado miras tú. ¿Qué importa el sacrificio que nos lleve? Sabemos que no hay tiempo que perder. Ayúdame a inclinar esta balanza, ven conmigo, que nada está perdido, ya verás. Amigo, no me digas que no sientes y que eres insensible a la mirada de estos niños. Yo quiero hacerte parte de esta historia, necesito de tu mano para abrir este camino. Hay muchos que no quieren dar la cara y puedo ver que no importa lo que allí se esté sufriendo. Hay pocos que se han puesto en la vereda del amor, quiero saber para qué lado miras tú. ¿Qué importa el sacrificio que nos lleve? Sabemos que no hay tiempo que perder. Ayúdame a inclinar esta balanza, ven conmigo, que nada está perdido.